DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Wedding Chat with Jeremy Brech and Dave Ternier. Now we can't even say that Dave was looking into the future and going to tell us what tomorrow will bring.
Well, John, Dave jumped off again, so
I'll jump.
This might be Wedding Chat with Jeremy.
Yeah, well, we could chat for a few minutes here, and I'll keep the seat warm until he jumps in.
Yeah. So how have you been, John? I guess we haven't talked in a while. How are you doing?
Good. Things have been a busy time here. When you have children, of course, that's part of life, and now we're starting to get into weddings. I start up next weekend, and I hit like boom, 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 boom for a while here, which for me is unusual. I typically don't try to book too much in the summer because of camping and family things, and this year I'm going to actually have to go out and do some weddings.
Gosh,
man,
people are so inconsiderate.
No kidding. Can't they plan their weddings when it's like rainy and cold in winter or fall or something?
Or like Canada?
Yeah. So did you see, okay, for those of you who want to get into the topic, we will talk about some wedding trends and such, and if Dave gets here, he'll take over. But did you see Dave's post from his bride meeting today?
No.
So he and this his bride, they were maybe recording something, what have you, and they both have a little snifter cup or whatever, a lowball glass that has like a shot of vodka or two, or it actually looked like about 3 shots of vodka, and they were going to be, and it's like middle of the daytime, day drinking, woo. It's like only in Canada.
You know what would be a fun show, John? Dave and I should do a show, and I think we talked about this a couple of shows ago. We should do it. There's that TV show where it's like drunk history.
Oh yeah, I've watched that actually.
We should do a show where we just sit there. We kind of get ourselves started about an hour before, and every time we say a certain word, we just kind of take a shot or we take a drink or whatever it is, and just to show people why you shouldn't drink on the job when you're doing a wedding. Yeah, we can be fun. But if you have a script to read or if you have a role to play, you can't be in a state of mind where you can't function and not run your event successfully. So I think it would be fun just to see and interact. How does that look on camera, and how does that look to our guests when we're doing those things?
So for all the people who watch our videos and such and follow us, they aren't the ones who would be having a drink on the job. So it would be the entertainment factor as they're watching. All of a sudden, typically, people, when they drink, their personality changes, and all of a sudden Dave's going to become like this mean drunk. And
yeah,
what does a mean Canadian drunk look like? Gosh darn you, eh?
A.
Maybe he says
yeah.
maybe he says A with a little bit more spunk to it than.
Yeah.
Um,
We're talking wedding trends, and some of the things that we've seen this year, which I think a lot of people are seeing, in the entertainment aspects. When you look at the music and everything, I'm not really getting a lot of requests for the new stuff that's on the radios.
Not a bit.
When you look at, this is my request list, my plays, do not plays, you're not seeing a lot of the music that you hear on the local radio, or you hear on the radios right now. And I think the thing is because it's really not that danceable. It's not that fun.
Well, one of the things I like to ask the couples is, and this is back from when radio stations dominated, is what format do you listen to? What radio stations do you listen to? Now, when I'm asking that question, I'm getting, Spotify. I listen to Spotify, and I stream this station, that station. I talked to a bride this afternoon that I'm going to be doing her wedding, and their favorite thing is now with Apple Music, and they go and they listen to the Apple Music 80s, by decade 80s station. It's like, God. If that isn't in my wheelhouse, I don't know what is. I mean, that's what. So I think that the whole internet and the way that they can basically listen to specific things, I think that new music isn't going to be as appealing, because even my 17-year-old, I go back there and he's listening to one 70s station, and I've got another 70s station going in my part of the house, and he's running back and forth comparing songs. Oh, my station played that song 2 minutes ago. So the music is just complete. I think it's going to be one of these things that we're going to have this getting back to some of the classics, because that's what they're listening to. Dave, have you experienced some of the similar things to that when you're talking to couples?
The response I'm getting more often than not is, oh, we listen to everything. I actually find it harder to nail people down to certain playlists or decades, or aside from the obvious 90s thing, which is huge with couples getting married right now because of the generational thing. But I find it hard to actually pin them down. I mean, yes, the sources of what they're listening to is online, but genre playlist-wise, that's actually becoming more challenging, I find, because Spotify makes it so easy to listen to anything
everything,
now.
Yeah.
And Dave, the thing that I had mentioned to John is what I'm seeing, I guess what I'm personally seeing when I'm going through their must playlist and their play possibles, things like that. You're not seeing a lot of the Chainsmokers, Zed. You're not seeing a lot of that stuff. And again, I think it's because it doesn't have a lot of energy. I guess some of the songs that I would say, you still see Drake and you still see some of these artists, which are playable, but the thing you run into is you can't play them right off the bat. You can't play them right at the beginning of an event. I had requests from, like, this last weekend. They were requesting, what is it? Nice for What by Drake, which, I mean, it went over great, but I couldn't play that earlier in the night.
No.
And, you have to do the edited songs and all this stuff, but you don't hear a lot of the new top 40. It's just really not that popular on the dance floor right now.
Well, I will say we hosted a Canada-wide DJ call late last month, and its theme was all about your summer 2018 playlist. What is hot? And we had 3 quote-unquote tastemaker DJs, people who are really up and up on the new stuff, and the overwhelming consensus was there's only one way to play the new music today, and that is 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 minutes of it. If you can't quick mix, you essentially write off the new music.
That's really interesting that you guys are experiencing that, because that's something that I've been getting that feeling as I've continued, the last couple of years, that short attention span. And then again, we get back to the Spotify thing. I mean, today when I was mowing lawn and I've got Apple Music going, I'm into a song and it's like, oh, I go look at the watch, click to the next song. Yeah, I've had enough of that song, click. And I bet you there was probably 20 songs that I did that I only listened to, the verse, refrain, and I'm bored with the song already. And if I'm doing that, I'm thinking teenagers and such, or they're doing it. I see them doing it. I can't imagine the 20-somethings aren't doing it.
Right.
No, Jeremy isn't. He's a old school. He's listening to the dead air before the song and the dead air after the song.
The best.
They put that gap there for a reason. I want to listen to it.
That's funny.
So Dave, are you in front of a green screen, or are you actually out in the middle of a field?
I am. This is my new green screen.
Nice.
I have a basement office, and I dislike having no natural light. So this is my new green screen. So it's one of those really real ones where if I run right out, I can actually go into the field and grab something.
Wow. That's amazing. And that sound effect you have in the background that makes it sound like vehicles are driving by, that's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I am on my way home from a planning session, and unfortunately, I got to my planning session a little bit late because I couldn't find the place properly, and then the planning session ran long, so I didn't get home on time. So, but technology, right?
Yeah,
I love it.
Let's talk about the planning session you were doing earlier today. The vodka planning session.
So that one was yesterday,
Oh, okay.
and I meant to post it yesterday. I forgot, so I figured I'd just post it today because nobody would really know or care, right? But yeah, that was my planning session with Quinn, and she's getting married to Konrad, and he's from Poland, and he likes his vodka, so we had a shot of vodka before we talked about him. It just seemed appropriate. It was actually made as a passing joke.
It was a great picture.
As we were driving back from the ceremony site to her house where we would do the recording for our first dance, and I made it as a passing joke, and then I'm getting all set up with my equipment in her house and yada yada yada, and she brings over 2 cups and a bottle of vodka and starts pouring, and I look over and I'm like, wait, what? She's like, well, we're doing this, right? I'm like, all right.
So you just sobered up and now you can get on the road? Is that why you're on the road still?
He's walking next to his car.
I appreciate a man who can read between the lines, Jeremy.
So Dave, you were a little late coming on, but the question or the topic here is, what are some of the trends that we're seeing early on here in the wedding season? And like I said, mine that I've noticed is like the pop or the music that you hear currently on Top 40 radio. We're not getting a lot of requests for that. It's just really not that big of a thing because maybe it's not danceable, maybe because it doesn't have that energy, whatever it is. What are some of the trends that you guys are seeing right now?
Certainly trying to get people to disconnect from their devices.
Mm-hmm.
Creative announcements and ways to get people to disengage for ceremonies, particularly. Now, maybe that's something old, though. I don't know. But, for 70% of the ceremonies I'm a part of now, I have an announcement I make beforehand that the bride and groom have asked me to make, and that announcement runs along the lines of, Quinn and Konrad have hired a photographer to capture how this moment looks. They invite you to capture how this moment feels with your heart, without the distraction of technology. Thank you.
So I've had a couple bring up that they are going to request they do not have any Facebook Live because they're thinking that half of their dance is going to be, not that they don't want their dance out there, but they're like, okay, people are Facebook Living and doing their thing. They're not engaging with each other. They're just videotaping each other, and they didn't really want to have that. I've had at least 2 talk about this in advance, and a couple of others have mentioned the technology. So, yeah, I definitely think that's going to be a huge concern going forward.
That's kind of like when we go to Mobile Beat and Vanilla Ice is on the stage, and you take a picture of the crowd, and there's more phones up in the air recording Vanilla Ice instead of actually like watching and being a part of that moment. It's like, oh my gosh.
You touched on something, both of you guys, that I'd love to actually bring up, and maybe this should have been a show headline because we probably would have got a pile of eyes watching it had this been the headline. But what are your thoughts on DJs going live from their weddings?
That would be a good topic.
I truthfully, like a lot of the times for social media aspects, Sarah, who runs our social media and who does all of our PR and that kind of stuff, she's always like, take pictures of the event. And you're going to see a lot of my pictures are kind of the lighting design and the room and things like that. And she's like, okay, take some pictures of the dance floor. So this was before any guests were there. So they had a wood dance floor. I take my camera, my phone over there. I take a picture of this empty wood dance floor. I'm like, here you go. And she's like, no, I meant like when people are on the dance floor. I'm like, I know, I'm just kidding. But the thing is, like, I get so caught up in what I'm doing, and I don't have time to even just sit there and take a picture of what's happening on the dance floor, because either I'm interacting or I'm in the mix or I'm running lighting. I mean, I'm a one-man show when I do my events, just like you, Dave. Yeah. I have like 12 employees, but when I do my events, I'm specifically the person running every single thing. A, because that's what my clients paid for, and B, I'm such a control freak of that kind of stuff. Because if that light does not change color when I need it to or want it to, or it doesn't flash at the right time, I freak out.
Yeah.
So
right. And the paperwork would be nasty if you killed somebody. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the whole taking live video or taking pictures, I can't get myself into that moment because I'm so involved. I'm so engaged with what's going on. And you're right. I wish I could get every single person in that room to be just as engaged as I am. But I mean, you look at, and don't get me wrong, I'm good at what I do, but I'm not bragging saying I'm the best at what I do. I don't have everything figured out. And that's one thing that I think everybody struggles with, is how do you disengage them from their devices to engage with what you're doing?
Well, I mean, taking photos and video is one thing, and I don't take enough. I take very little, maybe for similar reasons as you, Jeremy. I have too much crap going on.
Yeah.
But going live at an event is something completely different. I mean, and this is not just for anybody viewing, this is not a critique, this is not me slamming, but these are the questions I think of. I mean, I noticed a DJ friend recently going live, and I loved watching it, okay? He was at his wedding. I thought it was amazing to watch. I loved it. I watched, 30 seconds of it.
That was
your engine retarder brakes, damn it. I watched about 30 seconds of it, and it was really cool. It was really fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it. But then the thought hit me. So Auntie so-and-so, who I don't know, who's dancing out there live, being broadcast to Facebook, has a heart attack and falls on the floor.
Yeah, you just went to the worst possible scenario, didn't you?
Well, but I mean, do I want to be the guy that broadcasts that onto the internet? Live is unpredictable. Record a video ahead of time, right? Or record a video and post it later, Jared. That's easier, right? Because you would never, ever post that video of somebody doing something or something happening.
Yeah.
But when you're going live, you don't have a choice. You don't have that.
And I just couldn't bring myself to do a live stream of the dance or something going on when you have people out there that would be absolutely horrified if they thought they were dancing on the internet, basically, and there's a video of them on the internet that they didn't know what was going on. Because those are the people who will hide from the videographer and they'll hide from the photographer. But if I'm, doing something and they don't catch it because, I'm just a cell phone, I don't want to be the person.
Kind of think of it this way, like when you do a school event, you can't take pictures of the kids. You can't put videos up of the kids. And I mean, it's kind of almost no different, because a lot of those people are probably in the same boat. They don't want to be, like you said, they don't want to be broadcasted. They want their privacy just as much as everybody. So, I guess maybe I'm not okay with it just because I don't do it. And I don't see how it's going to affect my business. I mean, you look at, we have good friend Aldo Ryan, he is like crazy with mitzvah stuff. Mm-hmm. And I actually just watched a video where, he's out there, he's partying with his people, and that's what his mitzvah kids love. And that's what they're portraying in their company, is this is us, we do, these are the type of events we do. This is the energy we bring. And, it works for them. And I just don't know if that's something for me. And it's not for everybody. And it is for some people. It isn't for some people. And to me, I guess it's just not my thing.
So let's continue on a little bit and look at the end of the night. This is something that was debated, doing the pictures and such with the folks who are there at the end of the night. Because we all like to get that picture, hey, here, everyone get together. This is going to be the last picture of the night for, Bobby and Susie. And occasionally there have been people, Byron had mentioned this in one of his threads last week or week before about the DJs jumping into this picture. Well, we've got some of our DJ friends who do this consistently. First off, is that a picture you would use for marketing? Is that a good idea? And secondly, what are your thoughts about the DJ being involved in that picture? Either one of you can
go. Well, Dave, since you're muted, I can start. again, this to each their own. I am not one of those who takes selfies of myself. I'm not one of those who jumps in pictures. If a bride and groom asks, "Hey, can we get a picture with you?" Absolutely, I'll be happy to take a picture with them. But I'm not pulling them to the side. I'm not pulling them off to the side to take a picture so I can put it on social media. And we don't do social media right in our company. But I've actually had some couples who have said, we respect the fact that you don't put your clients out there and that you're not making it about you. You're not making it, we're not a social media marketing tool. There's a lot of people that respect that. But again, there's also couples that they love that center of attention.
Oh, for sure.
And they love that their DJ's involved in those pictures. To me, the moment's not about me with those people. The moment's about all of those people with that couple. And so that's what I make when I make that moment happen. I want that moment to be about them. And when they look back at that picture, they can remember that I was the one who helped create that and make that moment.
Great question. Great answer. I think it's a real fine line between making it about the couple, but at the same time acknowledging something that, people like Mark Farrell have, taught you and I, Jeremy, and that is that, every single one of us have the opportunity to become a celebrity in our market. And I don't mean that from some ego-fulfilling way, but you become the guy or the girl that everybody wants to have. And a large part of that is tied to you, Jeremy, me, Dave Ternier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just a fine line between those two. Every post has you in it. You're an egocentric guy who thrives and needs that attention to live off of, and maybe you only work for people who want to work with nothing but celebrity-like work.
Yep.
Right, which is totally fine. I mean, I think it's funny. I had forgotten all about Aldo, but yeah, Aldo does a lot of live stuff, and I think, and he's often in it as well. And I think in the New York mitzvah world, celebrity is everything, and people know when they hire Aldo is going to not only bring the celebrity following he has, but he's going to share that, and he's going to let the kids that night become celebrities with him. And I think people hire him for that.
Oh, that's a great angle, Dave. I wouldn't have even put it, but yeah, that's exactly, in many ways, we've seen some of that word.
Yeah. So now, out here where I'm at, in my neck of the woods, we don't have those individuals who, people hire because they're a celebrity per se. Now, the comment I made about Mark Farrell earlier and him saying, DJs can become a celebrity, I think there are individuals who have, made themselves in demand enough that term probably applies. When it comes to photographs of myself, it's funny you mentioned the big, let's do one big photo for. I used to do that, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And then, a number of guys around here started to make sure they always did it because, wow, Dave was having such success with it. So I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. Now I just do it sometimes if it's a request. I'll bring it up sometimes in planning. I want there to be more purpose to it than just being something I always do.
Mm-hmm.
I've never gotten in the middle of one of those, but I will say I love the photos where Bill is in the big group photos that he does.
He's got some incredible things he's done with some of the wedding parties and such. Those are just fun to look at.
And there's a great example, I think, of a different type of celebrity, I guess, than Aldo, because it's not the New York glitz and glam that people want from Bill, but people certainly feel that. I think they feel similar feelings around Bill, and I think that's a part of the reason that some people really want to work with him, because they know that Bill's going to be able to make them feel like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've got a question here for Dave.
Oh boy.
Glenn M. from Down Under is wondering, what does farmer Dave growing out in his field?
Well, I should take this opportunity on behalf of the government of Canada to tell you that our Senate tomorrow is voting on whether or not to legalize marijuana countrywide in just over 2 weeks.
Ooh.
So right now, this field is probably canola or wheat last year, but
So that's why he stopped
it
there.
has not been planted yet. So maybe this farmer's waiting for the vote tomorrow.
And he's getting ahead of the game.
Back when, I tell you what.
And that's all true. In case anybody is wondering if I'm making this stuff up, it's all true. But no, it's not planted,
So
which is actually
one of the things that that I kind of struggle with is the whole sparkler send off thing. And here's why. Because I mean they're still popular. It seems like everyone is still interested in doing those sparkler send offs, but the photographer wants to do the sparkler send off 2 hours before the dance is done.
Ooh, ouch.
And because they're like, well, I'm not sticking around until midnight and I'm not coming back. And I mean, I know it becomes a little selfish on their part, but I mean, as a DJ, we also have to be selfish because if you do a sparkler send off at 10 o'clock and the event goes till midnight, a lot of your guests are already outside. They already have, they're like, well, we're already this far. Might as well just keep going. And luckily I've been fortunate to talk to a lot of my couples and just tell them, they're like, well, but we want to do a sparkler send off. Our photographer says like 10:30 would be a good time. I'm like, oh, are we ending the dance at 10:30? They're like, no, we want to keep going till midnight. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Just tell your photographer, don't worry about coming back. If you want pictures and you want that moment, I will take pictures for you at the end of the night. Because I'm the one who's going to be lining everybody up anyways. Your photographer is going to want this perfect tunnel and all this stuff, but they're not going to have the command like I can.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to, move your guests around like I do through the entire night. So even if I have to have an assistant who's going to help me tear down at the end of the night, if they're running the camera and they're taking pictures of you guys coming through the tunnel, but a sparkler send off means you're leaving. And if you're not leaving, you probably shouldn't be doing a sparkler send off at 9 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. So that's that. Again, we're still seeing a lot of trends in the sparklers, the sparkler send off. But do you guys ever run into that where the photographer's like, hey, let's move this thing up 3 hours ahead of time?
So if I may, do you have late lunch at your weddings, Jeremy? Is there like a late snack that comes out at 10:30 or 11 o'clock or 11:30?
Sometimes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's almost always the case at weddings here because rarely do they end before 1 o'clock in the morning. And people don't need to, but up until a couple of years ago, it was actually a requirement of liquor licenses where they had to feed people at like 11:30. And that tradition has just never gone away since the rules were changed. Mm-hmm. But I've had sparkler send off type things happen at, probably as early as 10:30, more often 11. And I've found a great way to accommodate them. And that is, all right, we're not calling it a sparkler send off. I'm simply telling the guests, we have one more really fun thing to happen and it's going to be taking place outside. So leave everything in here. Let's run outside real quick. And what we do is have that happen. And then as soon as it's over, say, okay, everyone, late lunch was set out while we were out here. So as you walk back in, grab yourself a few bites to eat, have a seat for 5-10 minutes, and then we'll see you back on the dance floor.
Nice.
Get to the after party.
Yeah, and it's worked remarkably well. Now, I will say I've only done that probably 2 or 3 times, but it has yet to fail. I certainly don't use the word send off.
Yes. So as you were describing that, Jeremy, you take out sparkler and you put in fireworks. I've got 2 outdoor weddings that's almost exactly what's going to be happening is they want to have this big firework thing going on, and that's going to happen probably start about 10:15. And then they want everyone to come back to the dance floor. I've never had success in that situation, especially if we're outside under a tent. They go out and then they're swatting bugs and they're like, oh, well, now we're not dancing and we're not drinking as heavily and the mosquitoes are getting bad, and the crowd just dissipates. And it's like, okay, how does a person... I love that idea with having that late night snack served in conjunction with that to pull them back into the area. It's just under a tent. You usually don't get that, unfortunately.
True that. I often set up a speaker outside for this as well. I have 3 short little playlists, and I'll pull from each playlist depending on what's going on. for fireworks. I have high energy, mid energy, low energy. And this comes from back in the day where I got my professional display license for fireworks shows one time, and we would set off fireworks to music. And ever since then, I can't picture fireworks without music. So it's stupid easy to do. So, I mean, you know, there's some funny songs in there like, we didn't start the fire. You know, there's some things like that. Obviously, there's Firework, Katy Perry, and then there's some weird stuff like, a Miriam Stockley song, which is this weird ethereal stuff that goes really good when this big bang's happening. So, and then of course I've got my microphone, so getting everybody in is quite easy because I have a microphone and speaker out there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's smart. I never even thought about having a sound system out there when you're doing a sparkler sparkler intermission.
See, and I guess that's what's always been to me, because weddings here go till so late that when I first heard about a sparkler going to Mobile Beat, I'm like, why in the hell would you do that with the last 60 or 70 guests who are so freaking drunk at 2 a.m. that they like, why would you do that? So I guess to me, it's always been a middle of the night thing.
A hot piece of metal that's lit on fire, throwing off sparks. Perfect.
Yeah, with drunk people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Dave, you know, I mean, it's like midnight there right now for you, and it's still sunlight out because in Canada, it's sunlight 26 hours a day.
The further north you get, the lighter it stays out. Yeah. My wedding on June 23rd, which is like 2 days after the summer solstice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not going to get dark out until like 11:15, 11:20 at night, something like that.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And that starts getting light again about 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So if you have a late teardown,
you don't see night.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jeez. Well, that was those were some of the only things that I've seen, John. I don't know how much. What time is it? Do we have any questions that we can answer before we jump off?
No, they've been just kind of listening and such, and just following the discussion. So we should probably wrap things up a little early though, so Dave can get back and get home tonight.
That would be awesome.
Before it gets light again.
Yeah,
it's gonna get dark right away. We keep chatting, it'll get light again.
Yeah, exactly. All during one show.
I guess in my closing thoughts or my ending, we talked about trends here, and I think the goal that everybody should have is not what is currently trending, but what is the trend that you can create? What is the trend that you can start? Something that's going to separate everybody's event. And in my sales meeting, when you go through those questions of getting to know your couple and getting to know more about their event, one of my questions is, what is going to make your event different than everybody else's? Or what's going to make yours stand out to your guests? And maybe they have something that you're like, oh my gosh, I've never done that before. And you're going to be able to create that new trend. You're going to be able to create that something different. Like I just met with one of our couples that we booked. They're like, oh, we're going to do a donut wall. We've seen this before, and we haven't been to a wedding that has a donut wall. Well, I've seen it before. And it's like, to them, this is like the coolest thing. And so you have to react with that. You're like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And you have to act like they're the first person who's ever thought of that. Same thing when they're like, oh, well, we're going to do single ladies for our bouquet toss. You have to act like that is the first time you've ever heard anybody say we're doing single ladies. But like I said, in closing, I guess I would say, what can you create with your clients that's going to create that next trend? And how are you going to capitalize that on this upcoming season?
I love it.
Good
I'll
stuff.
just dovetail into that, Jared, by saying, one of the things I tell my couples in a consult is, sure, you were at, your best friend's wedding last year. That was a pile of fun, and I know you want a pile of fun too, but that was their wedding.
Yeah.
It's your wedding. So, yeah, 100%.
Cool.
Good stuff. Jer, take us out.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for watching us tonight. And John, thanks for being on the show with us. This has been fun.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to be able to jump in every once in a while, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks
Very
so much.
good. Well, I'm Jeremy Brech with DJ Jer. Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Good night.